All right, I believe we are live.
Yes, I think so. Hello, everybody.
Cool. So, hello, Orlando. How's it going?
It's going fine, Chloe. Thank you. Just starting off the week on the good side of things, actually.
Good.
So,
That's what we like to
yeah,
hear.
yeah. Pretty pumped about this trading week. I don't know about you.
Yeah. Do you know what? I often find August a tricky month.
Yeah,
Because I pretty much exclusively trade trends, and the trends just haven't really been there lately. But having said that, there still have been opportunities. So, it's a case of my job when the markets are not trending as I like is to keep away from bad opportunities and focus
yeah,
on good ones. And if there aren't good ones, stay away from the markets completely. So it's a
yeah.
little bit of a mixed bag for me. I think things are not necessarily happening as predictably as I would usually like, but I'm used to
Yep.
that for August because it pretty much happens every year anyway.
Yeah, volatility dries up during summer, and and I agree with you. During summer, it's for me, it's less trades, more focus on not trading than actually trading, uh, because yeah, I mean, during low volatility times, as you say, the market is not trending as much as we wanted to, and we can get into some troubles in the sense that. You might end up trading a choppy market, which I know everybody hates doing, and some less than optimal scenarios. And what we're doing here is just optimizing the way we risk our money, right?
Right, exactly. Am I right in thinking that you were looking at silver towards the end of last week?
Yes, I was exactly. Want me to start off with some
Mm,
silver?
yeah,
All
why
right,
not?
cool. Can you give me powers to share my screen, please?
Oh, I always forget to do that. Let me
Yeah,
see about
that's fine.
that.
All right.
There you go. You
Yep.
should be able to do that now.
Okay, cool. Share. All right, so everybody can see my screen.
Yeah, got
I
it.
All right, cool. So silver, this is I mean this is still pretty much chopping at the bottom of this flag, right? We got that fake out of the flag, which is and this is the reason that when trading flags or when trading patterns, I am not well. I'm usually the last to jump in, and let me explain to you why. Because I hate when I see this, right? I mean, I'm never going to get caught in a fake out because I'm always going to wait for the previous high, in this case, because we are on a bullish flag to break. Why? Because I want the immediate structure to break. And that hasn't happened in silver just yet. But if you notice, this fake out gave us, let me just, just zoom in on this chart, gave us, where is it? Here it is. Gave us a new lower high, right? And a new flat low. So we are still respecting that monthly level that we talked about last week, right? But I think that we have a better risk entry now uh, that we have a lower high in play. So I will be waiting for that level to break, hence that structure or pattern to break, just to go ahead and retest the highs at around the 29.30 to 29.70 level. And that's what I'm waiting for. Still very much bullish metals. And of course, if, and we don't know, I mean, I was talking about this earlier with Jeff. We don't know actual auction or future auction in the market. So it might as well be that during the US session, there come a lot of buyers right at this point, and they swipe all the sell orders that are in place here, and we get new lower lows, which would invalidate my trade idea. But that is fine because I'm still waiting for that breakout. All right, and that's, I mean, this is a waiting game for me in silver. I'm just waiting patiently. And yeah, that's pretty much it. The other thing, and if you don't mind me sharing another thought on the markets.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing that I was looking at, I mean, I was looking to get in on this pound yen super trend, right? I actually went long. I think it was around these levels, but I closed my longs when I saw uh, price chop around these highs, right? But yesterday, actually, I saw that we were respecting this level, the 138.50 to 138 40 level. So I took a long around these levels and now have closed half of my position here, of course. But the reason that I wanted to show you this is because I do believe that we have some good potential to the upside, and we should be aware of what this market can bring us. Now that's a lot of lines. So let me just get rid of a few, all right? Okay, so that's a lot of lines. Okay, so we are right now, we are at these levels. And if we continue this bullish push, I do believe that we can actually come here and retest this previous base, which it happens to be very similar to the base that I'm looking at silver that is testing right now. Very strong level of support, then broken with and haven't been retested just yet. So that's around the 141.27, which would give us a nice 135 pips from current prices, right? Again, I will repeat that you should not jump in on anything or trade anything that we just say, because the risk is off right now on this particular market that I'm talking about. And I mean, you should never just blindly follow some analysis that you watch online. Having said that,
Oh no, I thought you were going to say you should never follow some crazy guy online.
that too, that too, that too, that too. I mean, that too. And I used to follow a crazy guy called Orlando, but I don't talk to him anymore. Yeah, and if we're looking at the long term on the GJ and the pound yen, right? Um, and we break with that one in 141 20 level, and this is a lot of ifs, right? If we get there, if we break with this, and if we retest this long-term structure right here, price is going to contract in a very nice triangle for a long position, or a for a long for probably a long at the break of this triangle right here. And this is what I'm looking at. This is what I'm expecting. So that's why I jumped in on that one. And we will keep an eye on this every day until it either happens or not.
That's what we've got to do, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah,
either it's going to
exactly.
happen or not, and we just have to be uh ready for whatever happens.
Yep, that's it. That's exactly. I totally agree with you. And that's about it on what I'm watching. Another quite interesting thing that I just saw before the show is somewhat of a head and shoulders in equities. But the I mean, let's just have a look at this Dow chart. I mean, the rally is so hard. I mean, this is so very much bullish. Yesterday we had a what a 3.7% rally. So I mean, we are in a 3.7% rally from these lows, and even if we manage to break with this neckline right here, a short position would be not be on the table for me. Well, in the sense that I don't want to fight this big trend, right? But if this is in fact a head and shoulders, and if it breaks, it could lead us to a good buy opportunity around these levels, around the 28.20. But that is if all of this happens. But I mean, I just find it curious to point out that we might be in a head and shoulders, or head and shoulders might be printing in U.S. equities.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, that's one thing uh, I should add is, while I had a little bit of a complaint about the trends of August in a lot of the markets, predominantly Forex,
Uh-huh.
those US equities are, I mean, they just seem to be unstoppable at the moment, don't they? The indices,
Yeah.
the S&P, the Nasdaq, I mean, they're all just, you know, my catchphrase that a lot of people know me for is saying trends go on longer than we might think, and these US indices are absolutely proving that statement to be
Oh,
pretty true.
most definitely, Chloe. Most definitely. This is insane, actually. And you know what? I mean, of course, that this is pretty much fabricated by market liquidity, but since the U.S. Congress is in its August recess, right? I would end the CARES Act unemployment benefits about to expire or have expired already. I mean, I would have thought that we would have a some kind of a pullback in U.S. equities due to the lack of liquidity, right? Because there's still $1 trillion stashed away from the CARES Act that hasn't been distributed, and the bill hasn't been signed just yet. So I would have expected that, right? And I actually was expecting that for a while, but that doesn't seem to care too much. I mean, fundamentally speaking, just take a look at this market. It's insane, right? Just from the start of August, let's have a look at that. From the beginning of August, we are up 10% on the Dow. When have you ever seen this in what 20 days? In equities and making all-time highs, continuing to making all-time highs, whilst we have a fundamentally weak economy. So that's a big question. And again, I mean, you don't. I mean, you trade what you see, not what you think is going to happen. That's how many people get burned. So even though I am bearish the U.S. economy, I'm not going to be selling the Dow or the S&P 500, right? I'm going to try to buy metals instead of that.
Right,
Um,
exactly. And that's exactly, you touched on it exactly. We need to uh, trade based on what we see, not what we think. And I mean, I think for months people have been thinking, surely this recovery of the US equities has got to come to an end. Surely people are going to realize that this is crazy, and we need
yeah,
a massive correction. But the fact of the matter is that those trends have continued. And if you are a technical trader, then my honest opinion is, do what you do best. Trade
yeah,
technically, and trade those trends until they actually do end. At some point, it's going to come to an end.
yeah. At
But
some
we've
point,
got no evidence right now that that's happening. So we make hay while the sun shines, as they say.
exactly, exactly. And for example, what happened in gold a couple of weeks back, that we had a mini crash from all-time highs, right? That might just happen in equities, and that might give us an opportunity to get in on this long on this big rally, right?
Absolutely.
Instead of trying to catch a top or a bottom, which is a good way to burn an account.
Right, exactly. And just to add to that, yes, the trend will end at some point, or as you mentioned on gold, we'll see a huge drop in one day or something like that. Anything can happen in the markets. But
Mm-hmm.
the important thing to remember there is, if we're trading within our risk profile, if we're risk managing our trades properly, then
Mm-hmm.
even if we take a trade where, yes, that trend did end, or yes, that price action did retrace in that period of time and we lost a trade, in the big scheme of things, it doesn't matter compared to all of those trades that we did take in the right
Yep.
direction with the trend, made money from. And yes, we can always expect to lose a trade at the end. But it's much better to
Absolutely.
lose one trade at the end of a trend than 10 trades trying to pick the end of a trend.
Exactly. You have, I mean, you have said it. That's the
And that
exact.
can very easily happen.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna grab the screen, I think,
Yeah, go
for a
ahead.
minute. And I just want to show you, actually, those of you watching, I'm going to show a couple of things that I'm looking at on currencies, but I did just want to kind of cement that point here. I'm going to switch to the daily time frame. And what we have got, well, the NASDAQ did it first. So let's look at the NASDAQ here. We saw, I mean, this is just incredible. This, I'm
Yeah.
not sure I've ever seen anything like it.
Me neither. And I hate seeing that because I did not take part of any of that.
There were the all-time highs from
Mhm.
back in February, just towards the end of February. Then we had the coronavirus crisis really come into its own in terms of what happened over here in the Western world. I know it started a lot earlier on in Asia, but we kind of didn't really take an awful lot of notice of it until, I say we, myself excluded. I was I was already cancelling my trips to Singapore, unfortunately, a long way before the
Yeah.
lockdown happened in the UK. But generally, over in the West, we took notice towards the end of February. Lockdown happened in March sometime, and this was the crash that we saw. It was gigantic, almost unprecedented crash in the markets. And what's happened since in the Nasdaq is it has regained all of those losses in a relatively short period of time. I mean, these gains were almost as big, almost as fast, sorry, as the losses. So from the bottom here, which was 24th of March, 23rd of March, to up here, that was only 3 weeks it took to get all the way back up to this point here. And then since then, we have just continued to see higher lows and higher highs. We approached these previous highs. And smashed straight through. Saw a correction, but it still put in higher lows, still higher highs, and prices just continued. There have been a few times, as could only be expected, where we've seen maybe a consolidation or a bit of a pause in the market, but price continues to go on and make higher lows and higher highs. Now, I have no idea whatsoever where the high will be. I have no idea where this is going to change direction. I don't have enough information. I don't have enough knowledge to be able to guess where the top of this market is going to be. So all I can do is look at this market and do my technical analysis as I always do. Higher lows, higher highs. For me, that means trend, and for me, that means I'm looking to trade long and only long. At the point where I see a lower high, that's where I will start thinking, perhaps I'm going to cool down on my long trading and have a little bit of a break, wait and see what's going to happen next. But at the moment, I'm only looking for longs. Obviously, I always, with my trading, take into account horizontal levels of support and resistance. Now, that's another thing that on things like this can be a little bit tricky because we have no precedent. Price has never been this high. So there are no horizontal levels of resistance up here. The only thing that we can go on is large round numbers. So for example, 11,000, 12,000, etc. And also the usual technical analysis indicators that we tend to use. And they can be things like pivots, monthly levels of support and resistance and things like that. So obviously I'm still going to take those into account, but I'm definitely not interested in picking the top of this market. I've no idea when it's going to be. It's the same with the S&P as well. We had the all-time highs, so let me just point those out. The all-time highs, same back in February, massive crash. the recovery hasn't been as quick as on the NASDAQ, but we have now, just this week, in fact, taken out those all-time highs. That has happened in the last 2 days. So anyone thinking these are all-time highs, I'm going to short the market, you know, it's a dangerous game you're playing, trying to pick, and it's a sensible place. It's a sensible place to look for a short where it's all-time highs. You might expect that there will be at least some profit taking in that area, if not some people jumping into the market to try and get a short in.
Yeah.
But with the strategy that I trade, I am unable to do that. I have to trade with the trend. And there is nothing here suggesting that that trend is going to end, nothing technically whatsoever. And that's exactly what we saw. So right now, the all-time highs have been taken out. We are now printing day by day new all-time highs. And I'm going to continue to look for long opportunities. Yes, at some point this will end, and yes, at some point I'm going to lose a trade, and I'm ready for that. I'm prepared for that, and I fully expect it. But until then, our job as traders is to make as much profit as possible from what we see on the charts. And what I see on this chart is a really nice strong uptrend with no indication whatsoever that it is going to change anytime soon. And of course, we can look at this on lower timeframes. And as you said, Orlando, we're seeing very similar price action here to what you were looking at on the Dow, where right now, if we go down to a 15-minute time frame, yes, it does look pretty sluggish. It's been going sideways basically for most of today, since after that very early move. Most of today it's been going sideways. So I'm definitely not looking to pick up a long trade right now on a low time frame, but I am overall bullish. And as you said, Orlando, it's a case of waiting for and perhaps expecting a pullback, but then looking to take that as an opportunity to get in long if the technicals
most definitely
still suggest that. So yeah, that's those are still things that I am looking at. And while the trends in August on currencies have not been so hot, the trends on these US indices just keep on going. They are the gift that keeps on giving. I'm not sure that there's much else that I really want to focus on. I'm still vaguely bullish on the Aussie dollar, but I'm already in trades on the Aussie dollar. I wouldn't say I'm bullish enough to actually want to jump in again now. I'm holding on to the trades I've got because they're well in profit, even if price turns around. But it does look pretty sluggish, and the seasonals on the things like the Aussie and the Kiwi are not particularly bullish at the moment. So that's something I'm tentatively looking at. I would say possibly the most opinionated I am on anything at the moment is the Singapore dollar, which I am still bearish on. And it could be that there might be some intraday trading opportunities to the downside there on Singapore dollar. I don't think there's anything that I'm in fact, I was looking at this about half an hour ago, and I pointed out I do a show for those people who are on the Actions to Wealth mentorship pathway. I teach the strategy that I trade, which is the income creator, and I do a strategy support pathway where people can tune in and listen to me, watch and trade live. And this is one of the trades that I picked out about half an hour ago. So hopefully some of those guys will have actually taken a trade here. But again, as you say, Orlando, it's no good jumping into the market without actually knowing what the strategy is, because that could end up in a not so happy situation. So I definitely wouldn't be jumping in right now. The entry has been missed at this point, but I'm definitely still bearish on Singapore dollar and definitely open to opportunities to trade that to the downside.
Yeah, I actually traded that to the downside last week,
Excellent.
but
Yeah.
yeah, but I got stopped out on break even because on the 17th, I think we had a big rally to the upside,
Mm.
which I didn't like. I mean, price action turned on me, and my trade, my entry was so low on the trend that I decided to close it at a small profit, a 10 pip profit or something like that, break even basically, just because of that. But I'm with you on this one. I'm still looking for opportunities to short the US dollar versus the Singapore dollar.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that as well. We have to remember, you can have a bias on the market and you can find an entry, and sometimes that doesn't necessarily go according to plan, and there's nothing wrong with accepting that
Yep.
and deciding to look for a different opportunity instead. So yeah, good stuff. Always
Yeah.
nice to hear that you're looking at things in the same direction as me.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Me too. I'm always looking for that Chloe confirmation. Let's call it a double C.
The double C confirmation. Oh. So yeah, those are some of the things I'm looking at. I would say I've also been looking at the yen pairs since I got stopped out of that dollar yen trade last week as well, because I was looking at this to the downside. And as I have found pretty much throughout this whole year, actually, on dollar yen, I found it moving quite erratically compared to usual.
Yes, definitely. I
And
mean, as we were discussing last week, you remember that we saw big periods of just choppy consolidation and not really a trending market.
yeah, exactly. Big periods of consolidation followed by a big and quite sudden move, followed by another period of consolidation. And that's really what we've been seeing. And so obviously I was looking at this to the downside. Fundamentally, I do have a bearish outlook on dollar yen. So I always like it when I do manage to find a setup in favor of trading to the downside. So I was keen to get in on this, and it's changed direction. And I can't say it was unexpected, because what I was doing, and this is something that I don't often do, but what I was doing was I was looking at this as a head and shoulders pattern here,
Mm-hmm.
with this being the right hand shoulder. Now, a head and shoulders pattern for me, usually I would trade after the break of the neckline. So my usual place to look for an entry would be around about here, after price has already moved down. So this for me was an early entry, which is why I took it at reduced risk,
Mm-hmm.
and why I was not necessarily surprised at being stopped out, because it was I took it based on a fundamental bias to the downside, as well as a technical bias. But it's an unusual way for me to trade, I would say. I usually do wait for confirmation. Whenever I'm trading chart patterns, I'm usually waiting for the confirmation rather than getting in early.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that reduces the risk of increases the probability of success actually of trading chart patterns. And I mean, the way that you have put it is actually, yeah, the way that it should be traded. I mean, you can get in on breakouts, but you are going to get more false breakouts on your traded logs, right, on your past trades than normal. And if we are, I mean, if we're looking to be profitable in the long term and not to be the first to get in, we should always be waiting for that confirmation, right?
Exactly. Exactly right. Um, all right. Well, I do believe, Orlando, that we have Jeff in the room.
Yes, we have Jeff in the
Hey,
So,
room. How are
dudes.
you?
hey, Jeff, how's it going?
Hey, look, having a wonderful time. The market's up and
Excellent.
down like I shouldn't say that, like father's pants, I should say. And I think unless you're short the end today, it's pretty boring.
Yeah.
Very, very difficult to get a direction at the moment. But I tell you what, I'm a little bit bullish the Kiwi, and I'm not sure why.
Oh, that's interesting.
Isn't that interesting? I come out with these ridiculous statements and nothing to back it up. Now, really, I do, because over the last little bit, I've just seen the Kiwi sneaking up on a relative strength basis, and I don't get my relative strength from RSIs. I get my relative strength from having a look at what's competing best against the US dollar. And I just see the Kiwi sneaking up a little bit. So I'm a little bit bullish the Kiwi today, and I'll go through that in the US session. And of course, in the US session today, we have the inimitable Shukri, who will be taking us through all things crypto, which of course is gathering lots of momentum at the moment. Everybody's got an interest in that, and there's nobody more qualified to talk about crypto in our organization than is Shukri. So he'll be taking over for about 59 of the 60 minutes that we're on air, as he does. Boy, gee, you can talk that man. But what comes out of his mouth makes perfect sense. So I'll be listening intently. I've got a few trades up my sleeve as well that I'll be sharing in that session. But don't forget, I'm a little bit bullish the Kiwi. So there's a hint as to what's coming up in that session.
Awesome stuff, Jeff. And what time is that session kicking off? Is it at the bottom of the hour?
I don't know. No, it's well, we've got the preview of that show coming up in 13 minutes, and then we've got the show proper starting a half hour before London. Sorry, that would be US session begins, which is at the top of the hour.
Excellent stuff. So you've got the preview at the bottom of the hour in about 12 minutes, and the US session proper half an hour later.
You got it.
Awesome stuff. That is something for everyone to be looking out for. It sounds like you've got some tricks up your sleeve, Jeff. And
there's actually a bit to talk about. Yeah.
Excellent stuff. All right. Well, we will look forward to catching you live on YouTube for those shows then.
All right, mate. Thanks for having me. And
no worries. Thanks for coming in. Always good to say hi. Will do. All right. Cheers, Jeff.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, guys.
And I think on that note, Orlando, I don't particularly want to add anything to what I've gone through. So
because there's nothing too excited at the moment. Maybe if you tune in tomorrow, we will have some developments on that silver trade.
Yeah, the silver trade, that is something that I'm really looking forward to seeing how that pans out. And those of you who do trade indices, just keep it going. Because those are really the gifts that keep on giving at the moment. While other things seem a bit choppy, those are really looking good still for trend trading. And there's just no way of predicting, I don't think.
Do agree.
When those trends are going to end. Someone might be able to, but it's going to be a more clued up person than me. I'm just looking at the charts and taking every opportunity I possibly can.
That's exactly what I'm doing. That's exactly what I'm doing, Chloe.
Awesome stuff, Orlando. All right, well, we will chat again same time tomorrow.
All right, see you tomorrow, mate.
All right, see ya. Cheers, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and see you in Jeff and Ash's show in about 10 minutes time.